thank you so much for your time in doing this interview with us. Now, you're doing some really important work at the African Desk, and this is around integration. And so how are you helping that across the African continent?
Thank you for your time also, Madam, and the invitation. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Lord Maland for inviting us in this important summit, which is related to trade and investment. You are aware for sure that African countries have agreed to create a single market across Africa in the chapter of what we are calling African Continental Free Trade Area. As African Desk, we are trying to help African countries for the full implementation of the agreement related to that African Continental Free Trade Area as a single market. So we are here for that, and we are trying really to raise the voice of Africa. Africa has to become a very crucial partner across the world. That is our objective.
That's a very important goal to achieve, and I imagine that the Commonwealth has a role to play. What role do you see the Commonwealth playing in helping this trade facilitation across the African continent?
Well, the Commonwealth is a very important partner for Africa. Why? Because the Commonwealth links 56 countries across the world. Africa is a bloc, as offshore, to diversify partners, and we can't find better partner like Commonwealth. And I think that the Commonwealth Enterprise and Investment Council should be seen as a very, very important partner for Africa. As African Desk, an institution which works with many institutions in Africa, both in private and public sector. We think that we can be the link between Commonwealth Enterprise and Investment Council and many institutions in Africa.
So how important do you see PPP in this? Like what role, how are you helping to see the role that investors can play in this and bringing in that foreign investment that's crucial across the continent?
We can't imagine a development without PPP vision. Actually, the public is working for the well-being of private. The private can't also make profit without public or the intervention of public. So we think that it's very important to consider every time we need to think about the development of business. We have to consider PPP, and I do support the idea of PPP in any ways.
Some of the things that we've been hearing this morning is about trade barriers, and there's been obviously conversations around what this looks like for different parts of the world. I imagine it's the same for the African continent. Is it something that your organization is working towards in terms of facilitating trade and reducing these barriers?
Of course, one of the pillars that we are working on as African Desk is to remove all the barriers, be it physical barriers or non-tariff barriers. We need to remove all the barriers so that we can easily trade across Africa. The objective of Africa, as I told you, is to improve intra-African trade. So we can't move good from north to south, from east to west, without removing the barriers which are constitutes the bottleneck of trade. So one of the pillars of African Desk is for sure trade facilitation, and we think that we have really to remove all the bottlenecks, all the, what can I say, the barriers against trade, and to have a really free borders in Africa, so that good can go from Le Caire in Egypt to Cairo in Egypt to Cape Town in South Africa, from Tanzania in Eastern Africa to Lobito in Western Africa. So that is the point that I can say on this question.
Mr. Sayiba, my last question is, the Samoan Prime Minister made a really important comment around ensuring that there are tailor-made solutions, that anything post-COVID needs sort of a united collective response, especially to liberalizing trade, right, across the Commonwealth. For Africa, that would also mean a tailor-made solution. It doesn't mean that you can take one that works in one part of the world to the other. Is that something that you see your organization working when, looking at trade facilitation?
Yes, first of all, you have to recognize that whenever you have a global problem, you need a global solution. And you can't get a global solution without consultation. So Commonwealth is a link between all the continents of Africa. That's why I was telling you, viewing by African institution, which is African Desk is an African institution or a Pan-African institution, but that not means that African Desk does not need, to work with other institutions across the world. So I think that one of the advice that I can give is to say African countries has to consider Commonwealth as an opportunity to diversify partnership. And today, since we are looking Africa as a single market, as an economic bloc, we need really a partnership with Commonwealth Enterprise and Investment Council, because it's a tool for us. It's a tool for us, to diversify the economies of Africa. And we will not say economies of Africa because now we are targeting to have one economy for all Africa.
Amazing. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Just to thank you again for this invitation and for this conversation. I think that it will be a fruitful one for other people who are looking at us from watching from Africa, from other region of the world, to say the Commonwealth Enterprise and Investment Council is really a good partner, and are huge that other partners of African Desk should join us and join the hands for a strong Africa.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sayiba.
Thank you for Mama Africa.